This is Monday, October 28th. There are 267 days until San Diego Comic-Con 2020. Welcome to the Patreon exclusive SD Concast, a special podcast of the San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog.
VANUHTWE go. Oh my god, I love LiveJournal, and my LiveJournal loves me. Current mood is hyperactive. Current music, Refuse 73. I love the color scheme in pink and purple.
Good evening. I'm your host, James Riley, and joining me on the podcast tonight for the first live Patreon exclusive podcast is, as always, Carrie Dixon.
Hey guys, thanks to what is probably all three of you who are watching / listening.
And joining us special, it was going to be Kim, but she got busy at work. And so Robert Werner's from Legion of Sand is joining us tonight.
Hey everybody, it's been a while since I've heard that theme song.
Yeah. That means you haven't been listening to the podcast. What's up with that?
James, I don't know.
I don't blame you. We don't blame you.
All right, so this is a special Patreon-only podcast. If you have questions, go ahead and post them in the chat. We'll get them in just a minute. We're going to talk about a few things, or just ask them while we're talking, and we'll see the chat. If you want to email them to us at any point, you can email us and or send them to us on Twitter. You can just hashtag them with SD Concast and, go from there, I guess. That says no image yet. No image yet on what?
On YouTube, maybe?
Let me check out what's going on here. It worked the other day, right?
It did.
Let me see. Let me push the play here and see. No, it says it's waiting.
Yes, it does. Well, this is fun, isn't it?
All right. Well, can you guys see it?
I don't think so. I think it still just says waiting.
Well then,
James?
figure it out.
Live technical difficulties.
Right? Yeah, we'll figure it out. While we're going, we will go ahead and start giving the news, and then we'll just do it again if I actually figure it out. Otherwise, it'll just be off.
So that's okay. You start figuring it out. I'll talk for a little bit. Okay, so returning registration was earlier this month, and it seemed to go pretty well. We did a poll on our Twitter feed, and of the people who answered, which was about 2,500 of you, it looks like 62% of you got at least one day. And then 24% of you said you tried but didn't get anything. And then 14% of you didn't actually read the tweet and said that you weren't eligible. But that's okay. To the 14% of you, that's okay. So all in all, though, I mean, it was a good sale. There were no technical difficulties. We really haven't had technical difficulties of a large scale in many years, which is great. We love that. We are basically right now just waiting for news of Open Reg. Yeah.
Carrie, did you say 65% responded they at least got one ticket for one day?
62, yeah.
62. I think that's a solid percentage.
I think so too, especially since we've always kind of guessed that it was like 50-50 just by like very bad number to me. And truthfully, if you take out that 14% who voted even though they shouldn't have, it would be even higher.
Yeah, definitely.
So that seems like a good percentage to me. James, is there any way to see did the link maybe change for YouTube?
It might have. I'm trying to get it to do the new settings, but it apparently is not doing anything yet. So this will, of course, will be me messing up again and then having to figure it out what I did wrong. But we'll figure it out.
Go now.
Yeah. Go do it now.
Go do it now.
So, and we're expecting just the usual. I mean, nothing really went wrong with returning registration. So
no, Nothing went wrong. I mean, there's really hasn't been like any large scale changes in many, many, many years. So I'm really not expecting anything like groundbreakingly different or exciting other than the fact that it's happening in a date. I mean, that's pretty much all people need to know is the date. But like I said, my best guess would be Saturday, November 9th. So I would very lightly pencil that in to your calendar.
And if it's November 9th, then we know what happens on November 10th. The questions about when's hotels go on sale.
When do badges ship, Robert?
Oh, that's true. That's true.
No, we don't want to.
Late June is the answer to that question. Though Comic-Con is a week later this year, so who knows? It may be early July instead. Ooh. So different. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm trying to think. I feel like that's really about all the Comic-Con news there is. So we're going to spend the rest of this podcast pretty much just catching up on what's going on in our lives. And I think we should definitely start with Robert, because Robert, it's been a little while since you joined us.
It has been a little while.
You most unfortunately had to miss last year. I know you were super bummed about that.
Yeah, that's the first time I've missed Comic-Con since 2010. And the reason I missed 2010 was like a month later, my son was going to be born. So I felt like
that's a decent reason. You had an excuse.
But yeah, I definitely I have full intentions of returning in 2020. So
good. Well, we're excited to have you there. I kept thinking about you last year because, like, especially with all the, oh God, what's it? The
Dragon Ball
anime thing. Yes,
the
thank you. The Dragon Ball thing. I was like, Robert would love this. So, but there will be something cool next year.
I'm sure of it. Yep.
So what have you been doing in the meantime?
So I just started rewatching Lost for the first time since it was actually like aired. I'm about like halfway through the second season right now. And it's just as good as I remember it. And it made me think like I wish I would have been into the show back during the early years that I was attending Comic-Con, because I would have loved to seen a panel with those actors. But it made me think like the question, like if you guys had to go back, maybe like you weren't into a series before it ended, and then you weren't able to attend any of the panels at Comic-Con, would there be any panels you wish you had seen before the show went off the air?
I think I would have liked to have been at the first Chuck panel that I did not get to go to.
Fun.
Yeah,
That's the first one that comes to mind.
I mean, I was not going to Comic-Con at the time is the main reason I didn't, but I would have loved to have gone to like the original Veronica Mars panels. I've seen some photos. Those always looked like fun.
Oh yeah, definitely. I almost missed out on Dexter, but I was able to attend because I didn't start watching the show until later in the series, but I was able to attend the last panel that they had at Comic-Con, which was fun.
Oh, very nice. Yeah. I saw I think it was 2010. They did like all the Showtime series at the time. It was like Dexter and Nurse Jackie and some other stuff. I did get to see that.
Oh, nice.
That was fun.
I think some of the years before I was watching Doctor Who, and then some of the years where we decided to skip the Doctor Who panel because of other things, probably would have liked to have seen some of those Who panels.
That would have been fun, yeah.
Yeah. So.
There's so much stuff I feel like that like you get into later and you're like, that's been going to Comic-Con for years. And like, why did I never go? I mean, I talked about this a little bit last time, but I just watched like all 14 seasons of It's Always Sunny. And I'm like, that hasn't been to Comic-Con in years, but I was around when it was. It makes me sad that like I didn't go.
Yeah.
That would be another answer.
On those Sunday afternoons when nothing else was going on, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Well, so you're heading, Robert, you're heading to the area for Designer Con next month.
Later in the month, later next month, Designer Con at the Anaheim Convention Center. I've never been. I've heard good things about it. I'm excited to attend a show that's still, pop culture driven, but just a little bit outside of your normal comic book convention. I was looking at the list of vendors, Toddland will be there. There's a great list of artists, so I'm really excited for that one.
I've heard nothing but wonderful things about that convention, and every time I see photos from it, I'm like, that looks right up my alley. So I hope you have an amazing time.
Yeah.
And I'm a little jealous.
Probably should go to that Sunday since it's again 6 miles away. But
You should.
Yeah, definitely.
I like to.
Nah.
We'll go out and hang out near the area there.
There you
So I guess the big news also coming up next month is Disney Plus is coming, and where one of the questions is, do you think Disney is going to make a return to Comic-Con in any big way with Disney Plus? And it's like, well, you'd think they would have at Comic-Con this year, considering the service is coming out in a few months, but they didn't. So,
well, I mean, they integrated it into the Marvel Studios panel, and
yeah.
I honestly would not be shocked if that continues to happen. I feel like if anyone has the capability to combine their TV and movies, it's especially now that Jeff Loeb has got away. I feel like it would be Marvel.
Yes.
So.
And I would expect and hope that when they have something to show, that Star Wars would show up as well.
I would hope so, but I don't know. I mean, they seem so weird about Star Wars. So.
Yeah, well, but I would like to see it there. I mean, they did.
I know you would like to see it there.
And
I don't know.
Abrams is no longer going to be in charge of the movie, so if he doesn't want to try and top what he did in 2015, well, he's not going to be around to try and do that anymore. So they might as well show up with some new creators and cast. Damien has a question. Who would you most like to see at next year's con? And Carrie, the cast of Hollyoaks are unavailable.
So sad. That's okay. Like I said, I'm already seeing my other Hollyoaks guy in March. God, I don't know. Do you guys have an answer to this?
Mine's pretty easy. Just since I've been watching Lost, I'd love to see a Lost reunion panel.
I was a little bit sad when they didn't do anything for the 10th. That would have been a good time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they do. Jay and Jack or someone, one of the Lost podcasts. I think they do a podcast every year at Comic-Con about a Lost kind of thing. I think.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but I mean, come on, that's not the same as a reunion panel with cast. You know, it's not the same.
I would like to reiterate that I want to see Star Wars there because I think that they could do a nice panel for Disney Plus with Kenobi and the Cassian series and The Mandalorian, which is already going to have a season 2. So I think they could definitely fill an hour or two with some stuff. So,
yeah. I think that's a good answer. It would be very nice. I hope you get that. I don't know. I don't feel like I have a good answer to this. My thing is I just go through spurts for I'm into stuff and then I'm not. And right now I'm I don't feel like I'm into anything. I'll be into something by July.
Anything that will show up at Comic-Con.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I mean. I don't feel like
not anything that's going to show up there. But you are into stuff.
I am into stuff, but I'm Veronica Mars. If they are ever going to do another season, it's not coming back this next year. Good Place is ending, so can't say that. The Magicians I do still love, even though they killed a character. But that has to get renewed first of all, which has not happened yet. So I don't know. I just don't have a good answer for this.
Nope. Keeping it in vein, so I would hold up the mug, but I don't have it with me, and we're not doing video anyway. So Star Wars Talk with James. Did you guys all watch the Star Wars trailer?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Nope.
Nah.
I'm the only nerd on this planet who has not seen it. But was it good?
Yes, it was as expected, shockingly absent of any plot. They did a very good job of showing you teaser images of things that look really cool and not explaining a single thing.
That sounds pretty much like what they've been doing all along anyway. But yeah.
If you notice in Marvel and Star Wars movies of the last few years, especially the bigger ones like Endgame, they tend to only show you stuff from the first third of the movie in the trailer. And they try not to show you things from later. So there's no visual spoilers in addition to storyline spoilers.
Right.
But I just rewatched the Revenge of the Sith trailer recently, and they showed like everything all the way up until near the end of the movie in that trailer. And I'm wondering if maybe because it's the end of the saga, they may have done some of that as well. So either that or a lot of the stuff they showed in the trailer, it's making the front of the movie like really dense. So it's interesting if they don't follow that, modern trend of not showing the first third of the movie only in trailers.
That would be interesting. I don't know.
So, but
Did
no,
you guys get your tickets yet?
Oh, of course. I was actually left work early because they're supposed to go off halftime of the Monday Night Football game.
Yeah,
you're like, show the trailer, tickets are on sale. But I'm like, last time on a Star Wars movie or Avengers or whatever it was, Harkins, the theater we go to, tends to have their systems all fudged up, and they put them on sale whenever they feel like. So I was leaving work early to get there, and I had left work like 10 minutes, and then Beth calls me, and she's like, they're up already. So she bought them while I was on the way home, and I didn't have to go to the theater. So we got our very close to our near center of the seats we love best, like this big, massive cine ones.
Nice.
And we're going to see it probably twice in a row that night because we bought them both because, might as well.
Might as well, yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna go see it on that recliner theater with the 82-foot screen and Dolby Atmos and no 3D, which is awesome. So
what about you, Robert?
I haven't. I've been slacking on purchasing tickets, but I might not be going opening night, but I'll at least go opening weekend.
Yeah, weekend should be available. There should be some Saturday afternoons or Sunday afternoons or something available.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, and then we got another one for like Sunday. So we'll see it a few times over the weekend. See how it goes. See whether we like it or not.
Carrie, I'm assuming that's a no from you.
I'll see it. I don't know. I've never. I'm the worst. Like the only Star Wars movie that I was truly obsessed with, and it's because I was in like 5th grade, was Episode 1. What is that one called? Phantom Menace. There we go. See, I'm not a Star Wars person at all. I grew up on like Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Like that's my jam. Yeah, I'll see it. I just don't care that much.
Yeah.
But I know everyone else in the universe does, and I hope
Not
everyone
everybody.
loves it.
Not everybody.
I know 99.9% of people love it, and I hope everyone has an awesome time.
I'm sure we will. We have Damien asked another question. What has been your best/worst experience of General Rick? He says he's been really lucky and is going his 4th year and always lucky to get 4 days and a preview night. So
Nice.
Who has issues with that? Now, for us, we've been going on press for a while now, so we don't deal with returning registration personally, but we've been dealing with it with everyone else on the blog and friends and such.
Well, and I mean, like it's not like we've always been press. Like
No.
we used to buy tickets just like everyone else.
In the modern era.
Yes, in the modern era.
The last, I don't know, how many years has it been? Like the last 6 or 7 years, I think.
Yeah, I think I got press in like 2013 or 14. One of those. Yeah. So it's been a little while. I have a decent answer though, so I'm going to answer this. Go ahead. Prior to this though, the best year that I feel I was so freaking lucky to get tickets was 2011, which was the year that they used Ticket Leap. Do you remember this at all?
Absolutely. The frog.
Yes, the frog. And it was so awful. Like if you did not live through the frog in 2011, they put tickets on sale and like it crashed, and it crashed hard. And they gave it, I don't even know, like an hour. And then finally they were like, we just call it. Like, we're just going to do this again. So they did it again, and they were like, we're going to do a small test with like 1,000 tickets because it went so horribly last time. And I was one of the 1,000 people, and I got tickets for myself and my friend. So I felt very, very lucky in that test.
Wow. Yeah, that was pretty horrible. I remember trying to do that. Was that when I was trying to get tickets? I don't remember if I had a pass at that point for something. I think maybe I was doing brown coat stuff, so I didn't need to, but we were trying to get tickets for people, and it's like, no.
That was a bad year to get badges. Like, yeah, that was just rough. Nothing was ever as rough as Hotel Apocalypse 2015, but it was still rough.
and wasn't that also the year that they did the last year of on-site registration, but you had to go like over to the Hyatt, or was that like 2009?
Yes.
You had to go over to the Hyatt.
I think it was definitely not 2009 because I didn't attend until 2010. I think you're right. I think it was 2011. And the reason basically that they did away with it was because it was the very first year people were basically lining up like a day in advance to go buy their badges on site for the next year. So people were spending an entire day of the convention in line to get badges for the next year. So you were losing like a whole day. It was just ridiculous. So yeah. So after that, they switched to online.
Right. And it's been selling out ever since.
Yep.
Although I think they had online sales obviously before that, but it actually wasn't selling out until around 2009, 2010, somewhere around there. I think somewhere in that range, somewhere between 8, 9, 10, it started selling out, where previously it didn't sell out till like right before the convention.
Yeah, I want to say it was 8. But for a couple years, they were still doing the returned badge sales. Because again, I say this all the time, but that's how I attended for the first time in 2010. Was I basically graduated college and went, I want to go to Comic-Con, so I bought one of the returned badges. Yeah. So
do you remember when they would put them on eBay? When CCI put them on eBay, the return badge?
Yes. Yeah, I do. That was an interesting experiment. That's okay. I really hope. I mean, they basically did the return badge sale last year. It was just for quote unquote charity of the museum. Right. I hope they do it again. Yeah. I mean, by the end, the badge prices were not that bad. Like, yeah, okay, the first ones went for like $6,000. By the end, it was like $600. Okay, which is doable. It's more than you would pay if you got a badge the real way. But it was not $6,000 bad. So,
right. Yeah, when those first few went up and people were like, "Oh, gotta grab it! It's the only chance," and then they just kept coming and they kept relisting.
They were really smart about that because they only listed like 10, and then they waited, and then they would put up more, and so it didn't look like there were like 500 badges up.
Probably 500 badges by the time they were done.
Yeah. God, there were so many though. There really were. So I hope they do that again.
Yeah, they were always on eBay from when they started until right before the convention. So yeah, it was pretty cool. So I mean, that's all we really have is that, because we're not expecting hotels or anything until next year for like.
Yeah. Not until the spring. I mean, we should have early bird. It's usually in like February. Yeah. So I'm sure we'll get that. And then the general hotel sale is usually in April. Though again, Comic-Con is a week later. So even though returning Reg was the same time as last year, I would not be shocked if a sale or two happened like a week later than what they did last year. But.
And we have things like professionals, press, volunteer, all happening, and we just make sure that everybody knows about those on Twitter as they come along, which know what's going on.
Press Reg these days is a breeze, and Pro Reg, with the way that they're doing it now, is also super simple. So Pro Reg, for anyone who doesn't know, basically what used to happen is, okay, you are approved as a professional. And then they would say, okay, we have so many free guest badges available, and they would have to go and sit in an Expo Logic waiting room, just like everybody else does for the normal badge sale. And they would be filtered in through to be able to get the free guest badges. And once those were gone, but you could still buy a paid badge. And everyone was eligible to purchase I think 1 free badge and 1 paid guest badge. Now what they've done for the professionals is they've just gone ahead and said, this is your allotment. It's been predetermined. You either have, 2 paid guest badges, 1 paid guest badge, a free and a paid guest badge, like whatever the allotment is. And each person's is different. And so you don't have to like spend your time in a waiting room, which I think is cool. I think that's probably much less stressful and much more transparent. So that's nice. For volunteer reg, the interest list, if you signed up for that, then signups for volunteer reg open on this Friday, November 1st at 10 a.m. Pacific time.
I expect most of the people who are listening to the Patreon podcast pretty much got a lot of that stuff dialed in. But
yeah,
it's good information if you are transitioning, like if you are up and coming and you now are in production somewhere or working for a comic company or something like that. It's a good thing to know, or making your own comic book now. Who knows?
Yeah, well, and not just that, but I mean, I do think that like people are interested in like the process. Like, I mean, we get asked all the time, like, how does this work? Like, even if this doesn't apply to me, I just want to know, how does this work? So
how many of those people are walking around?
Hopefully I did not bore you all to tears.
No, of course not.
No.
I think that's about it. I think we've managed to fill an entire half hour.
Shocking.
We could spend like 5 more minutes with me discussing how I broke our live stream on the very first live one that we were ever going to do on our Patreon.
You did.
I bet you it had something to do with the fact that I scheduled the YouTube for tomorrow.
Yep, that'll do it.
But I changed it right before we started. So, but I think that might have something to do with it. So I will try and get it right next time. I might even do some random Patreon podcast. Maybe I'll do a Star Wars talk with James randomly just to test it out and see if I can get it running without having to deal with
You should. You don't need me at all. You just go do the podcast. Great. Yeah. Bye, James.
Well, I'm sorry to make you get out of your PJs for no reason.
Oh, I know. My life is so hard.
I got into my PJs when I got home, so
there you go.
Someone had to be not in PJs, I guess.
Yes.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. Carrie, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at Carrie Dixon and pretty much nowhere else. Robert, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
Legion of Sands, all one word, on Twitter and Instagram. Trying to grow that Instagram count, so if you want to give it a follow, that's great. James, where can we find you on the internet?
I am everywhere at Dan Regal, and you can also check out geekshotphoto.com for photography links from my wife and I. And speaking of my wife, Beth, she's our producer, and she edits the show and gets it up onto the sites and all that kind of stuff and make sure it gets done. Also, thank you, all of you who are listening, because you are our Patreons and you help us keep the site running. And
you do. Again, we say this every time, but the money definitely does not go into our pockets. It goes right back into the site. So we greatly appreciate all of your support. And we hope that we provide a valuable service to you guys, and we will get this sorted out for next time.
Yes.
Yes.
If you want to get a hold of us, send us an email at sdcomiccon.blog@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/sdconblog, or tweet us at sd_comic_con. Thank you all for listening, and everybody go with the shawarma.
I was like, what are you saying?
I'm trying not to be so dramatic about it on the Patreon.
Oh, Lord.
I'm trying different stuff. This is the one where we can try out new things. Yeah. I pushed off on the record, by the way. So
good.
That's not recorded. But we'll leave that part in where you're like, what are you doing?
Oh, God.